Lieutenant Commander Vexari of the Threxian Voidclaw Fleet had studied over 100 planetary war logs, dissected thousands of battle scenarios, and consumed entire databanks of simulations designed to prepare her for Deathworlds. Yet nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for Earth. It started the moment they landed. The surface was deceptive, a serene blue marble from orbit. Rolling green landscapes, oceans that shimmered in sunlight, a breathable atmosphere, all signs of a temperate haven. But Vexari's instincts screamed otherwise. The humans hadn't lied when they labeled their home a Deathworld. They had merely understated it. The grass tried to eat her boots. Tendrils curled upward, wrapping around her ankles with eager determination. Her diplomatic escort, Captain Darren Holt of the Terran Marine Corps, stood grinning as the Threxian elite squad danced in a panic. The long, fiber-like grass twisted to grip at anything warm. It wasn't carnivorous, just overly affectionate. According to Holt, the plant secreted a mild neurotoxin that numbed the feet and caused hallucinations if contact lasted over 3 minutes. "We call it snuggleweed," Holt said casually, brushing some off his ankle. "Cute name, huh?" Vexari stared, aghast. Her second-in-command, Oryx, hissed and slapped away the tendrils curling around his leg. "This planet is insane." Holt laughed. "You should see what happens when it rains." They had come to Earth as part of the Intergalactic Accord's Cultural Exchange Initiative, a somewhat controversial agreement intended to foster unity among the stars. Vexari had volunteered, not out of altruism, but because she wanted to see the Deathworld for herself. And perhaps, if the rumors were true, understand why humans were so damn impossible to kill. Day 1 on Earth and she already had her first clue. The terrain was alive, unpredictable, and viciously playful. During a walk through a temperate forest, a bird known as the mocking grackle dive-bombed her with what Holt claimed were acorns. The grackle apparently had a vendetta against shiny things. "Did you polish your pauldrons this morning?" Holt asked innocently as another acorn clanged off her helmet. "This is an act of avian war." "Nah, it's just Steve. He likes the challenge." Vexari turned slowly. "You named the bird." "Of course. We name everything that tries to kill us. Builds character." At the training outpost in the Colorado Rockies, things escalated. The humans had set up an obstacle course as part of the acclimation program. The Threxians, proud warriors from a high-gravity world, were confident. Muscles coiled like steel cables, reflexes honed in low-oxygen dueling pits, they considered themselves among the elite. Then came the gauntlet. An infernal human invention consisting of rope swings, barbed tunnels, slippery logs, and a rock wall that defied physics. The Threxians struggled, gasping for breath, slipping on mud, yelping when stung by insects the size of their fingers. Meanwhile, the humans sprinted through it with disturbing glee. Holt finished the course, panting but grinning. "Welcome to Earth. We build strength through suffering. Your training facilities are death traps." "Yeah," he said with a wink. "We call it Tuesday." Vexari studied her own failures with mounting frustration. Despite her physical advantages, Earth kept catching her off guard. The atmosphere was thick with pollen, the gravity subtly disorienting, and every creature, no matter how small, seemed armed with claws, teeth, or venom. Yet the humans adapted. Nell thrived. She began watching Holt more closely. He wasn't extraordinary by human standards, but he possessed something she couldn't quantify. A kind of cheerful resilience, an amused defiance in the face of pain and absurdity. He laughed when bitten, shrugged off bruises, and treated every setback as a story to be told later over a drink. And Vexari found herself curious. That curiosity grew the night the temperature dropped unexpectedly. The Threxians, used to geothermal warmth, shivered in their tents. Frost crept along the edges and a bitter wind howled through the camp. Then Holt arrived, whistling softly, carrying a bundle of sticks across his back and a mischievous grin on his face. "You guys ever build a fire the old-fashioned way?" "We have thermal units," Vexari replied through chattering mandibles. "Yeah, but this builds character." In a blur of practiced motion, he constructed a fire pit, struck sparks with metal and stone, and soon had a roaring flame. The Threxians gathered around, mesmerized. Fire was sacred in many cultures, but to humans, it was second nature. A tool, a weapon, a comfort. As warmth spread, Vexari stared at the dancing flames, then at Holt. "Why did your species stay here? This planet is hostile." He chuckled. "Because it made us strong. Earth doesn't coddle you. It throws you into the deep end and dares you to swim. And if you don't, well, you become food." Oryx grunted. "We lost 3 scouts to the swamp thing." "Yeah, Kevin's territorial." shouldn't have poked him. You named the swamp thing Kevin. Well, he didn't object. Vexari narrowed her eyes. You are either the bravest or most reckless beings we've encountered. Why not both? Holt said, toasting a marshmallow over the fire. There was something deeply unsettling about how casual the humans were around danger. But also, in a way that disturbed her pride as a warrior, inspiring. Later that week, during a training session, the Threxians were introduced to a local sport, rugby. The rules were unclear. The pain was very real. By the end of the match, Oryx had a dislocated shoulder, another squad mate had a black eye, and Vexari herself had been tackled by someone half her size who apologized by handing her a protein bar. Good form, the human had said cheerfully. You dropped your spine alignment on the pivot. Vexari growled. You crushed my lungs. That too. That night, the Threxians sat in their quarters, silent, bandaged, and nursing bruises. The fire of humiliation burned low. Finally, Oryx muttered, They do this for fun. Yes, Vexari said. Yes, they do. Something shifted in her that evening. A spark of realization. Earth wasn't just dangerous, it was a crucible. And humans were its forged product. To understand them, she had to stop resisting the madness and embrace it. The next day she volunteered for the volcano hike. Captain Holt raised an eyebrow. You sure? It's a 6-hour slog through lava tubes and scree. I want to see what made you. He smiled. All right, Deathworld tourist package it is. Bring snacks. Kevin might show up again. As they ascended the treacherous trail, Vexari watched Holt move with confident ease. Not because he was stronger but because he expected the planet to fight back. He anticipated adversity, almost welcomed it. That mindset was alien to her species, who conquered planets, terraformed them, made them submit. Humans didn't conquer Earth. They survived it. And in doing so they became something more. As the sun dipped behind molten cliffs and sulfur stung her nostrils, Vexari stood at the summit, heart pounding from exertion. Steam hissed from cracks in the rock. Holt handed her a water bottle and clapped her on the back. So, he said, grinning, what do you think of our home? She looked out over the wild, beautiful chaos below. I think, she said slowly, that no one survives where you thrive. And the real test, she realized, was just beginning. The creature lunged from the underbrush with a guttural snarl, all claws and muscle. Vexari didn't think. Her plasma sidearm was drawn and aimed before her thoughts caught up. But Holt stepped in first. Easy. That's just Bandit, he said, voice calm but firm. She's just curious. Vexari stared in disbelief as the human extended a hand toward the slavering beast. Its breath was hot and smelled of damp fur and old meat. It sniffed him, then promptly licked his face. She's part wolf, part something else we never identified. Sweet girl once you get to know her. Bandit turned and eyed Vexari. The Threxian's mandibles clicked as she held her ground. The hybrid padded closer, then, shockingly, sat and wagged its tail. She accepts you, Holt said with a grin. Or at least she doesn't think you'll taste good. Vexari lowered her weapon, heart hammering. This planet gets more unhinged by the day. That's the spirit. The mission parameters had changed. What was meant to be a week-long observational stay had been extended, unanimously, by the Intergalactic Accords Council. They wanted deeper insights. Vexari and her squad were now enrolled in an extended Earth immersion program, spanning 3 months. Their new assignment, live as humans lived. It was madness. Beautiful, terrifying madness. First came the culinary trials. Human food was a weapon in its own right. They had something called ghost peppers, a name that should have been warning enough, yet Oryx insisted on trying it. He screamed for an hour, flailing and knocking over a drink dispenser while 3 humans recorded it on their comm devices and laughed. My internal systems are rejecting existence, he gasped, curled on the floor, weeping red tears. Holt handed him a glass of milk. You've been baptized. Welcome to the species. The humans weren't just immune to pain, they invited it. Spicy food, frigid dips in mountain lakes, bizarre endurance rituals that involved running for fun. And then there was caffeine. Vexari had 2 sips of black coffee and spent the next 4 hours dismantling and reassembling her rifle collection in alphabetical order. Twice. Sleep-deprived and overstimulated, she wandered into the compound's recreation hall where Holt and a dozen other humans were playing a game called paintball. They handed her a mask and a weapon that fired colored pellets. She blinked, suspicious as she waited in her claws. The rules were simple. Avoid being hit, eliminate the enemy team. What they didn't explain was the unholy glee with which humans hunted each other. Vexari crouched behind a wooden barrier as pellets splattered around her like angry insects. Holt rolled into position beside her, grinning. "This is the best part," he whispered. "The chaos. You're all insane." "Tactical chaos," he corrected. Then he sprinted out, laughing. Against her better judgment, Vexari followed. Something inside her stirred as they charged through the makeshift battlefield. It was like training back home, but wilder, more unpredictable. Her instincts sharpened. She ducked, dodged, rolled, and returned fire. Holt hooped beside her as they flanked an ambush and took down the opposing team. Covered in paint, panting and grinning, she looked at him. "I get it now. Told you. You just needed to loosen the exoskeleton." Word of the Threxians' transformation spread quickly. Other alien envoys began arriving to observe the integration firsthand. The Draal emissaries sent cautious reports home. The Andari refused to exit their shuttle. The reptilian Hushari tried rugby and haven't moved since. Holt took it in stride. Earth's a vibe. Some get it, some don't. But not everything was playful. Midway through the second month, a storm system rolled in. One of Earth's infamous hurricanes, Category 5. It threatened the coastal outpost where several diplomatic teams were stationed. Evacuations were ordered, but logistics faltered. One shuttle's launch pad flooded. A second was damaged by flying debris. Vexari watched the humans scramble, not in panic but in practiced urgency. Teams formed. Plans changed on the fly. Holt barked orders, organized squads, distributed supplies. His face was grim, focused. "We need that eastern sector cleared. Now, Vex, you're with me." She didn't hesitate. Wind howled as they made their way through the battered complex. The rain felt like needles. A generator exploded somewhere to their left. Bandit followed close behind, fur slicked with rain, growling at shadows. They reached the flooded wing and found 3 engineers trapped behind collapsed scaffolding. Without a word, Vexari and Holt got to work. She tore metal aside with brute force. He stabilized the supports. Lightning flashed overhead as the engineers were pulled free, coughing but alive. As they huddled in the emergency shelter later, soaked and bruised, Vexari looked at Holt. "You didn't run. Never do. Even with death overhead? Especially then." And that, she realized, was the difference. Threxians prepared for war. Humans expected it, everywhere, always. Earth had taught them that safety was temporary, control an illusion. They didn't just survive chaos. They partnered with it. That night, as the storm raged, Holt sat beside her, sipping lukewarm coffee. "You adapting okay?" She nodded slowly. "This planet is madness. But it's honest madness." He smirked. "It's home." The next morning, skies cleared. The compound was a mess, but no one had died. Cleanup began before breakfast. Vexari stood among humans covered in mud, some laughing, others cursing, most still working. Her mandibles clicked softly. For the first time, she didn't feel like an outsider observing a death world. She felt like a survivor living in one. And she wasn't done learning yet. The shot rang out before dawn. Vexari was already on her feet before the echo faded, instinct kicking in as her claws gripped the sidearm by her bunk. The chill of early morning bit at her joints, and the acrid scent of scorched metal drifted in from outside. Her eyes adjusted instantly, scanning the shadowy barracks where half her squad was scrambling to gear up. Outside, alarms wailed. This wasn't a drill. Perimeter breach. Someone yelled over the comm, "Unknown hostile, southeast quadrant." She burst out of the barracks just in time to see a trail of smoke curling above the treeline. Holt was already sprinting toward the watchtower, boots splashing through mud. "It's not one of ours," he shouted when she caught up. Something else came through the storm. They reached the southern wall in moments. The sentry post had taken a hit, crumpled steel, shattered glass, and the lingering heat of plasma discharge. "You think it's local wildlife?" she asked, crouching beside a melted panel. Holt's face was pale. "No. Whatever this is, it's not from Earth." That was all the confirmation she needed. In the distance, something roared. By sunrise, 3 things were clear. A ship had crash-landed during the hurricane, it wasn't human or Threxian, and its surviving occupant, or occupants, were armed, mobile, and aggressive. The diplomatic compound went into lockdown. Human and alien personnel alike fortified the perimeter. Holt took command alongside Vexari, their roles now equal in both authority and urgency. "What are we dealing with?" she asked as drones buzzed overhead. "Scans are inconclusive, but it looks like a Rasktau raiding pod." Vexari's blood chilled. The Rasktau were not part of the Accord. They were scavengers, apex predators, and worse, intelligent. Wherever they landed, only bones remained. We need eyes on the crash site. I already sent a recon team, Holt said grimly. They didn't report back. She didn't need to ask why. The silence spoke louder than any report. By midday a plan formed. A joint team, 5 humans, 5 Threxians, would scout the wreck, assess the threat, and neutralize it if possible. Holt and Vexari would lead them. This is no longer cultural exchange, she muttered as she checked her gear. Nope, Holt replied, slinging a shotgun over his back. This is Earth. Sometimes it tests you. The jungle swallowed them fast. Dense undergrowth, steaming from residual storm heat, pressed in from all sides. Every step crackled underfoot. Despite the tension, Holt moved like he belonged here. Vexari followed his lead, one eye on the canopy, another on their tracker. They found the recon team's shuttle first. It was overturned, hull scarred by claws, not weaponry. Blood, thick, blue, definitely not human, spattered the clearing. They fought back, one of the humans. The ceremony was nothing like she expected. Vexari stood beneath an open sky, the compound rebuilt, the forest quiet for once. A strange peace settled over the land in the storm's wake. Dozens of humans and aliens stood in a semicircle around her and Holt. Music, not martial but soft and melodic, drifted from unseen speakers. It made her chest tighten unexpectedly. It was comforting. She wasn't being honored as a soldier. Not even as an emissary. She was being welcomed. You sure about this? Holt whispered beside her. Yes, she said, her voice low but certain. This place tried to kill me more times than I can count. And I'm still here. That counts for something. The governor of the compound stepped forward, holding out a small medallion etched with both Terran and Threxian symbols. Lieutenant Commander Vexari of the Voidclaw Fleet, he said, by the authority of the United Earth Coalition and with the consensus of the Intergalactic Accord, we recognize you as an honorary citizen of Earth. The applause was brief, restrained by formality. But Holt gave a loud whoop, clapping hard. Behind him, even the Threxians joined in, their pride overcoming their rigid decorum. Vexari accepted the medallion. It was small, unimpressive by military standards. But as its warmth settled in her palm, she felt something stir, recognition, maybe even belonging. It was the first thing Earth had offered her willingly without pain attached. Later, as the sun dipped low and the ceremony gave way to a bonfire, she sat with Holt on a log at the edge of the clearing. Bandit lay curled between them, one paw resting protectively on her boot. Vexari glanced down and for a fleeting moment, felt safer than she had in cycles. You know, Holt said, sipping from a thermal cup, you've changed a lot. I had to. Earth doesn't let you stay who you were. That's not always a bad thing. She considered that. In the beginning, she'd come to Earth to study its dangers, to understand how such a volatile, violent world had produced such resilient beings. But somewhere along the line she had stopped studying and started surviving. Adapting. Becoming. The transition hadn't been easy, but it had been real. My people believe strength is born from tradition, she said. From control, structure. We build order to endure chaos. And humans? You build strength from the chaos itself. You embrace it. Laugh in its face. Holt chuckled. We do have a reputation. She looked up at the stars. We feared your world. Called it a death world. A place unfit for survival. But it isn't death that defines Earth, it's how you live in spite of it. A breeze rustled the trees. Somewhere in the distance, the mocking grackle screeched and dropped an acorn on an unsuspecting diplomat. Still think you want to stay here? Holt asked. More than ever. He nudged her shoulder. Then welcome home, Vex. She smiled. Just Vex now. As the fire crackled and laughter rose from the circle of survivors, Vexari realized the truth she'd never seen in any report or war log. The strength of humanity wasn't in their weapons or technology. It wasn't even in their adaptability. It was in their refusal to quit. They fell, bled, broke, and still they laughed. She remembered Holt brushing soot from his uniform with a grin. She remembered Oryx limping from rugby holding a protein bar like a trophy. They reached out. They built. They belonged, even on a world that should have killed them. And now so did she. Moral. True strength isn't just about surviving harsh worlds, it's about finding meaning in them. It's about choosing to stay, to rebuild, to laugh when nothing makes sense. It's not the world that makes the warrior. It's the will to live in it fully, scars and all, asterisk asterisk.